When it is raining, you need to open your umbrella. When the rain stops, you close the umbrella. The process will be repeated. Hi, good day everyone. Today we are going to explore about for loop. For loop has its own advantages that programmers like so much. So stay tuned and I am sure you will learn some exciting features about for loop. Before we start, these are learning outcomes should be achieved at the end of the lesson. Repetition consists of three constructs, which are while statement, for statement, and do while statement. Each of the constructs has its own syntax as shown at the slide. For loop is one of the counter-control repetition. What is counter control? Counter control is you know exactly how many times certain statements need to be executed. When to use for loops? A for loop is appropriate when the initialization value and the number of iterations is known in advance. This is the general syntax for loop. Basically, we have three important statements in for loop. The first one is initialization, the second one is condition test, and the third one is incrementation. And remember, for is a reserved word. Now, we look how you can write your own for statement. Look at the example carefully and relate it with the syntax. This slide shows in detail how for loop works using a flowchart. First, the initial value is assigned and evaluated at the beginning of the program. Then, based on that value, the loop expression is evaluated either true or false. If the expression is true, appropriate actions are performed and incrementation or decrementation is carried out. Increment or decrement is also known as post expression. The post expression will be evaluated again through the loop expression to determine whether it is true or false. If the expression is false, the for loop will stop executing and go to any statements outside of the loop structure. Now, let us look at how to trace correct outputs using for loop. The following example is a simple program that prints hello 3 times. Make sure to use the correct data type. The following example is a simple program that prints numbers from 1 until 10. The for loop structure is quite similar to the previous example. Can you spot the syntax error? Yes, variable loop must be properly declared. So, put an integer data type as you pair it with loop variable. This is example to sum odd numbers between 1 until 5 using tracing table. Look carefully how tracing table is working. Example 3 as interesting application of a for loop to print the alphabet from A to C. The incrementation statement let ++ will add 1 to the ASCII value of let. Since for loop is considered as counter control loop, you can convert the syntax from while loop to for loop and vice versa. This slide shows how programs written in while loops can be converted into for loop. Students, break and continue can be applied in repetition. Some of you might be familiar with the usage of break. Break forces the for loop to stop working and jump immediately to the statement outside the for loop. Let us look at how the break works. Note that in this example, break belongs to the if statement that exists within the for loop. So, in short, Break can be used in two different ways. First, if the break is in the for loop, it causes the for loop to stop working and resumes its control program at the next consecutive program statement. Second, if the break is in the nested for loop, it causes only the inner for loop to stop working, not the outer for loop. Students, continue in the other hand does not force the for loop to stop working. Instead, it only skips any relevant code in between and still cause the loop expression and increment or decrement portion to be executed. This is a program that calculates the total of even numbers from 0 until 6 excluding 4. You can see that continue belongs to the if statement. So 4 is an even number, but since if I modulus 2 equal 1 or I equal 4 equals to true, the program will omit number 4 and still go to the next value, which is 5. Let us look closer on how continue works. Students, remember, break causes the current iteration of a loop to end immediately. Meanwhile, continue causes the update expression and test expression still being evaluated. Here is an example of full program that uses for loop. This program requires the student to verify the numbers that are divisible by 7 between 1 until 50. Count that numbers and calculate them. The problem can be put into flowchart like this. Note that the for loop exists before the if statement, not the other way around. The if statement is executed if and only if the number is divisible by 7. This is a simple solution for the problem. Before we end our lesson today, we look on the do and don't in for loop. This is example of legal or correct for statement in C++. This is an example of illegal post expression where m is assigned to 2. Please use the correct post expression assignment as in the slide. In this example, there is misuse of comma instead of semicolon. Remember, semicolon at the end for statement will cause logic error. Next, parenthesis or bracket is one of the syntax for statement. Lastly, use relational operator less than or equal to correctly. Students, try this exercise to see whether you understand what we have learned just now. You are given 20 minutes to solve the problem. Good luck!